So let's get right to the important part of the night. And what we're going to talk about is two different pentatonic shapes. Maybe three, depending on how excitable I feel. And the first one is going to be the C position. In other words, if you were playing a song that is in the key of C, C major, of course, that would be your normal C chord that everybody's familiar with. But what you may not be familiar with is the pentatonic that surrounds that, and that's we'll give the fret value as opposed to the actual note value for those that are still pretty new to this whole guitar thing. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to start at the bottom E string, the thick E, and we're going to play open, and then the third fret, and the next string open, and then the third fret, and then the next string, the D string, open, and then the second fret, and then the G string, open, and the second fret. We're going to jump up to the B string, and that's the one that's a little different. It's going to be the first fret and the third fret, and then all the way up to the high E, which is going to be the same as the bottom, open, and then the third fret. When you put them all together, you get this. And what you'll find is that if you're playing a C chord, you can throw any of those notes in there and it's going to be in key. You can play around creatively with how you want to arrange the notes and all those kind of things, but when you're looking to just start improvising, the pentatonic is just about the best place to start, because you don't have to worry about hitting a wrong note. You can kind of go outside those lines a little bit if you want as you hear it with your ear and as you attune your ear to the different qualities of music notes. But as long as you stick within that little, they called it a box. A lot of people I've heard referred to it as a box, and I don't really like that term because it seems kind of limiting to me, and I don't think people should ever feel limited when they play guitar. But yeah, it's just going to be those groupings, and again, it's going to be open third, open second, first, third, and open third. What you'll find too is that you can arrange the C chord, or you can add elements to the C chord that would be in that same those same notes. So let me give you an example of that. Like if I was strumming along, I can just add some of those notes in if I ever want to, like. You could also go down and kind of walk with it. If you're picking, you can use some of those. You'll see a lot of this in different country music as well, where they do some flat picking. If I can find my pick here, you'll see some of those. And it might be hard to see on the video, but really all I'm doing there is moving my middle finger between those pairs of strings where you play the open and second. And what's neat to see about that is that they do operate in pairs like that. The first two follow that same pattern, and the next two follow a different pattern. The B is an oddball, and the B is always an oddball, and that's kind of what makes this whole system work in the way that it does, which is what makes it so cool. And then of course the top string is always going to be the same as the bottom. So now that we got the C shape out of the way, what if we move it? You know, we'll say I'm not playing a song in C. Maybe I'm playing a song in D. What do I do if I'm playing a song in D? I can't use, you know, then I can't use those. It wouldn't be the same key. Well, what you can do is move that shape upward. And one of the things you can do is find your root note. If you know in the C chord that the A string fretted on the 3rd fret is the C, that's what anchors that C chord. If we can move that somehow up to a D and retain that shape, then we can still use that same pattern. So what you have to do is bar the chord. A lot of people are familiar with bar chords. Most people think it's just like F and A, you know, the F shape. And then, you know, the A shape being. But the reality is any of the 5 chords that are part of the cage system, the C, A, G, E, and D, can all be barred that way. And if you look at my introduction to the cage theory on YouTube, you can see that that's actually the case. So what we do is we restructure how we finger the C chord. Instead of using these 3 fingers, we use our pinky to anchor the root, and then we'll sort of mimic here, you know, on the nut. This is acting as our bar. Well, if I move it up 2 frets, now I have a D. And you can tell, because if I play a D, it sounds the same. Okay? If I play a D up here, it sounds the same. Slight differences in quality, you know, the different notes that are used, but it still holds true. So all we have to do is move that pentatonic shape up as well. If we play the 2nd fret, because we're starting at our bar, which would be open in a C shape, we're just going to follow that same pattern. 2, 5, 2, 5, 2, 4, 2, 4, 3, 5, and then 2, 5 again. So if you're playing it's going to work that same way, and that shape is movable anywhere on the neck. You don't have to go to, you know, an absolute value like D. You can go in the middle. You know, you could play a C sharp and do the same thing there. And you should really try to get as comfortable as you can with moving that shape anywhere you want. Again, one of the songs that I like to play, Waterloo Sunset. It looks complicated to a beginner, but the reality is the only chords I'm playing are E and B and A, which is, you know, the same chords you're going to find in any basic E 1-4-5 pattern, any blues pattern or anything like that. And it's just different ways to play them. You know, I've found that, okay, if this is the D and we move up 2 more frets, we're going to be at the E, taking into account for D sharp or E flat. And then barring that shape, that's how I come to the chord from that melody. You know, the melody I play here, so it stops me from having to move my hand all over the place to be able to access that. And you'll notice that those notes I'm playing come from that same pentatonic. Now, the one note is borrowed from a previous chord shape, and we're not going to get into that right now, but you'll see that the those 2 notes that are in that melody, they come right out of that C pentatonic shape. So now we've gone over the C. Aeon style. Hi, nice to see you, man. We're doing a little bit of a quick guitar lesson. I'm going to go over one more shape, and then we're going to get into playing some tunes. So, like I said, move that shape anywhere you want, and enjoy it, have fun with it, and see what you can do with it. But what we can also find if we're at the C here, and we know that this C is our anchor root note for the chord, we can make an A shape. It's not an A chord, but it is the A shape. If we would bar the A on the 3rd fret, it maintains that C value while retaining the A shape. So the reason I start with that is because it's not a position that can be played open. It would require you to go farther back than the nut will allow. Obviously, we have to start somewhere, and we have to always start at 0. So, yeah, if we go over that briefly, we'll see the shape is going to be, again, starting on the E string. We're going to do 3-5, 3-5, 2-5, 2-5, 3-5, and 3-5. And those are going to be the pentatonics that are associated with that chord. And again, you can move that anywhere. Theoretically, part of that you can play open. You can always do the first 2. But when you go up to do the 3rd string, you can't play prior to the 1st fret. So if you wanted to play that value, you'd have to do it on the 4th of the string that you're already on. In other words, so it changes the shape, and that's why I don't show it, because it shouldn't be, or I don't, start with the A because it shouldn't be played open like that. But again, that shape is movable anywhere as long as you're going up the neck. If we were doing a D chord, that D chord with the A shape is going to be the same thing. So we've got that going on. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. And style, I do sing with the guitar. And it is coming up very, very, very shortly. But yeah, the important thing to remember as well is, you see we have that same pattern idea where we have 2 strings that are the same, and then we have 2 strings that are the same in a different pattern, and then on the top we have 2 more strings that are the same or actually mimic the first 2 strings. Which again, make it all incredibly easy to remember. Once you see all the connotations of these patterns, it's pretty exciting. So, but yeah, the other important thing to remember is that C shape, back to back with the A shape, is what allows you to start going the whole way down the neck. And once you know all 5 shapes, you can play a pentatonic riff or lead or anything like that the whole way up and down the neck, wherever you have the desire to play it, whatever kind of value you want to give it. So then a good thing to practice is to put those 2 together. Go up with the one and then go down with the other, maybe. Like, what you'll also see is that the notes start to borrow from each other because they have to go back to back. Those same notes that you were playing in the C chord, half of those are going to be used in that A shape. And then when we come up to the next one, which will be the G, half of those are going to be related to the A shape. And when you look at them on a chart then, or if you would write down on a piece of paper how they all correspond, you can see how those shapes stack up against each other. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's as far as we're going to go with it today, and we'll get into playing some tunes. But yeah, I just want to slowly kind of get those thoughts out there to anybody who is, just learning to play. I've had a lot of people recently, while I'm streaming, say, hey, I'm looking at getting this guitar, and I can't wait to start and all this, or I've got a Christmas present coming up. You'll see, actually, I changed my the donation ticker there to be a little more Christmassy. We got the red and green going on. It's the season of giving, folks. The 1st of December. Hope everybody's all excited about that. As I see more and more of you cruising on in. But yeah, so practice those, and you can do any variation of those. Maybe go up with the A and then come down with the C. idea is you want to know them back and forth and left and right and everything else, so that whenever you're playing, you can quickly gravitate to them. And when you start, you'll have to kind of think about where they connect and all that, but once you've been playing long enough, you should know how to jump right to wherever that next shape is going to be, so when you want to get into another style of solo or another sound for a song or something like that, you can quickly go there and accent it. So, all right. Thanks, guys, for bearing with that. And without further ado, let's get into playing some songs, huh?